Dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the United States of America. We received lots of very interesting, alarming signals. The first one, US President Donald Trump has extended for another year a set of sanctions imposed on Russia over the Ukraine conflict, according to a notice in the Federal Register. Most likely, the President of the United States of America was using this tool to force the Russians to accept anything, any concessions from the Ukrainian side, or to make concessions from their side during the Geneva talks. But according to media, those talks, the negotiation process in Geneva failed without any progress. So, which means that Trump was able to extend the sanctions, and he did that. Furthermore, we believe that due to the current situation, due to extension of sanctions, the Russians most likely will continue the conflict also for another year until the next round of talks between the United States of America and the Russian Federation on this matter. Another important thing, another important update published and reported from the United States of America is that Donald Trump has stated that he intends to publish information related to aliens. According to him, he is ready to take such a step after Barack Obama admitted that he acknowledges the possibilities of life outside of our planet. So this is a very important piece of news. So this one and about sanctions, and we need to understand that both updates are not about either sanctions or aliens. This is not about this. So of course, most likely the Pentagon or some other administration or government office of the United States of America will publish some information about aliens. Most likely we will receive lots of interesting videos, documents, pictures, videos, I don't know, audio records and so on. And most likely almost every single person in the world will shift its focus towards this topic. We won't probably discuss, so we will forget Ukraine for 2-3 weeks or something like this. We will forget about, I don't know, Olympic Games or something like this. Everybody will discuss just these aliens, and this is exactly what the United States of America and the President of the United States of America wants. Because aliens is something that the President of the United States of America is going to use to cover and to protect the upcoming military operation in Iran against nuclear facilities and the Iranian ballistic program. So we need to understand, of course, that currently the United States of America has already completed its build-up. The U.S. Central Command has completed preparations for an operation against Iran, so everything is ready, and most likely this is going to be the biggest operation ever, probably or since the early 19th. So that is why we believe that Iranians are not going to stand and wait when they would be destroyed or something like this. Of course, the Iranians and the Iran itself will try to show resistance, which means that the losses are imminent from both sides, and which means that it is very important for the United States of America and for Trump, because they don't know for sure, they can't know for sure how exactly the conflict will develop. They want to shift our attention to this topic of aliens, and of course the United States of America wants to probably keep Russians and Ukrainians fighting for another year with sanctions probably imposed on Russia, because if Russians and Ukrainians manage to achieve an agreement in Geneva, of course, and if Russians knew for sure that there is no more threat from the Ukrainian side, of course the Russians would deploy a significant number of air defense forces in the southern direction with the purpose to protect the sky of Iran. But everybody understands this. So the topic of aliens, once again, is an attempt from the United States of America, from the President of the United States of America, to shift our focus from this area where the Americans are finishing or have already finished the greatest redeployment and build-up. This is a strongest indication of the seriousness of the U.S. threat to Iran. The U.S. had deployed more than 66% of its available E-3 command control aircraft to Europe and the Middle East. Another important updates from this area. According to information we have, according to Israeli Channel 12, the Pentagon has deployed THAAD and Patriot air and missile defense systems. It's about 20 military bases in Jordan, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. Another important thing, combat aircraft are concentrating near Iran's borders. Satellites detect a buildup of US forces. So dozens of aircrafts of different types, dozens of air defense systems through the entire Middle East. So everything is ready for something big. And if we summarize the entire group of forces of the United States of America in this area currently, the US has stronger forces in comparison with the situation in May-June of 2025 when we saw the first military operation against nuclear objects of Iran. So what is Russia? As for the current situation, the Russians are able just to carry out joint navy exercises with Iranians, but it's not something that can stop the United States of America, or at least to make them thinking about the situation, or making them thinking to slow down their, let's say, progress and build up. The Russians are completely concentrated in Ukraine, and currently the Russians are not able to do anything. And furthermore, the Russians are not able to redeploy additional air defense forces in the direction of Iran, because the Ukrainians almost every single day launch massive attacks deep inside of the territory of the Russian Federation, and the previous night wasn't an exception. According to information we have, during the previous night, Ukrainians launched two waves of attack. The first wave of attack took place in the southern direction. The Ukrainians used hundreds of drones. The sources reported that during this wave of attack, the Ukrainians used approximately 90 drones. As of the morning of the 20th of February, we haven't received anything whether the Ukrainians managed to damage at least a single facility. It seems that Ukrainians as of now are trying to probably to stress and to test or overload the Russian air defense systems without any purpose to deal damage. The Russians reported that during the nights they were bringing down Ukraine's drones and missiles. This is the video that was published in the area of Sevastopol. Here we can see the work of air defense of the armed forces of the Russian Federation. So some drone was brought down by Russians. In this article we see that between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. the Russians brought down 48 drones in this area, and between 4 and 8 p.m. 34 drones. The second wave of attack, the second wave of drones was launched in the northern and the northeastern direction. This time, according to information we have, the Ukrainians used 115 drones. The Russians stated that over the Bryansk region the Russians destroyed more than 57 drones, so lots of drones were launched. In total, as we can see once again, during the previous 24 hours the Ukrainians launched up to 300 drones in the direction of the territory of Russia. But from the other side, we see that the Russians are intensifying and increasing the number of tools they use for air defense purposes. And today during the day we received lots of yesterday during the day we received lots of videos of how Russians were using their Ki-52 helicopters for air defense purposes. The Russians are saying that during the previous day they managed to bring down 25 drones of the armed forces of Ukraine just with Ki helicopters. And this is another anti-aircraft, let's say, drone. His purpose to bring down probably reconnaissance drones of the armed forces of Ukraine, and this is something that the Russians are trying to improve, and the Russians are trying to use more and more often along the line of combat contact. So this is the moment, this is the video where we can see how Russians brought down a drone. Some were probably in rear, something like a test, but this video shows that the Russians are very close to improve this technology significantly. Now let's talk about the situation on the ground. The Russians also attacked the territory of Ukraine during the previous night. The explosions recorded in the area of the settlement of Novovasilievka. Most likely the Russians attacked this object of energy infrastructure in the area of the Nikolaev Oblast. Several explosions took place to the east of the city of Dnipro. This time, according to information we have, the Russians attacked the settlement of Vasilievka to the east of the settlement of Dnipro, so lots of explosions were recorded here as well. As for the situation on the ground, during the previous night we received small updates, and let's discuss them in details. And first, let's talk about the Zaporozhye direction. The Russians are saying that Ukrainians continue their attempts to counterattack positions along the river of Gaichur, but as of the 20th of February of 2026, the Russians managed to repel everything and to stabilize the situation. And furthermore, the pro-Russian sources are saying that the Russians finished preparations before moving forward in the western direction towards the settlement of Rizdvyanka, Vozdvizhivka, and Verkhnya Tsersa. So in coming days, most likely we will start receiving updates from the city limits of these settlements. As for the northern direction, during the previous 12 hours, we received the video published from the area of Zlagada. Here we can see how Ukrainians were attacking positions of the armed force of the Russian Federation, the territory of this settlement. And this video confirms that now the FPV drone operators of the armed forces of Ukraine are trying to secure and to clear the territory further in the southern direction from the settlement of Privilia, which means that Ukrainians probably will continue their offensive operation with the purpose to attack the settlement of Uspenovka from the north. It seems that the main target for the armed forces of Ukraine in this, let's say, counter-offensive operation is to recapture the settlement of Uspenovka and basically to encircle the Russians who are currently located along the river of Gaichur. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Konstantinovka direction. During the previous 12 hours, as you can see, nothing has been recorded, just FPV drone attacks. We are waiting for additional updates during the upcoming day. We believe that during the next 24 hours, the Russians will improve their positions in this area and we will receive additional updates on this matter. Now let's talk about the Liman direction. As for this area, the biggest activities are taking place in the northwestern part of the city of Liman, the Liman direction, basically along the border between the Donetsk region and the Kharkiv region. The Russians, during the previous night, published this video where we can see a flag established by Russians on the most eastern part of the settlement of Svetlogorsk. Based on this video, we have adjusted the map. This territory used to be considered as a gray zone because several days ago we received a report that Russians entered the territory, and today we received also proofs confirming this. Russians are in the eastern part of the settlement and the Russians are keeping advancing. Furthermore, according to different pro-Russian sources, as a result of clashes, the armed forces of the Russian Federation managed to improve their positions around the settlement of Alexandrovka and to get and to take under control the border between Donetsk and Kharkiv regions, at least at this point. So it seems that the battle for this settlement is about to be finished, and then the Russians will be able to shift their focus further in the southwestern direction and to continue offensive operation further in the direction of the villages of Studionak and probably in the direction of the village of Krymki. So the Russians, as we can see, are keeping advancing in the Izum direction as well. As for the Kupiansk direction, during the previous 12 hours, we received a very interesting video from the territory of the settlement of Novoosinovo. This is a very important video where we can see how Russians were attacking strongholds and positions of the armed forces of Ukraine to the east of the settlement of Novoosinovo in Kivsharovka. We're talking about this dense network of the fortifications, so which means that most likely the Russians, after they finish the battle for the northern part of this dense network of the fortifications, are shifting their focus towards this part of fortifications with the purpose to establish complete control over the territory and, first of all, to take under complete control the pocket to the south, which will allow the Russians to maintain the lines before the beginning of the major battle for the settlement of Kavsharovka. As for the northern directions, during the previous 12 hours, as you can see, we haven't received anything special, just the regular activities. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds to we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.